body contracts when I'm excited as well, when I really want something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's very confusing, because I never know whether my body's telling me to back off or to go forward.
Well, I was hoping to avoid this thing, but in Neo, they talk about dynamic ease. I call it elegant ease. And actually, I think that's going to be the focus of today's dance in Neo, dynamic ease. And if you know your muscular anatomy, for one muscle to contract, another has to relax and expand. So for these muscles to contract, my buttocks and upper thighs and back have to relax and expand. And then when I stand back up, okay, so here's a contraction here, and there's a relaxation here. So there's that elegant ease, there's that constant contraction and expansion, opening, closing, lengthening, shortening. There's the dance. We live in three-dimensional time and space. There's always an electromagnetic wave, yin and yang. But the contraction that I'm talking about is different from that elegant ease of the body contracting and expanding. It's when you contract and it holds.
Yeah.
So it's not a fluctuation, but it's a holding. And it's a subtle distinction, and you will learn to notice it. But it's like, when you start to feel a chronic old emotional pattern, it grabs a hold of you and it will not let go. It's not a fluctuation of energy.
No, and that's what I'm saying, that when I get inspired, it can, the brakes go on. I can feel it. And so it's sorry? Yeah, I get that. I absolutely, so I absolutely get that there is fear attached to it, but it's how to stay. Where I'm at the moment is to stop trying to fix it, because actually that seems to be creating more resistance than anything else.
Right, and that's, for those of you who have done that being love process, in the graduate level of the course, it really is, how can I simply bring presence and awareness and love to this part of me that's contracting? And the key to making that work is to be unattached to the results. Now, because the intent, most of us in this room are healers. So, we want to get in there and fix it. Ooh, tightening, contraction, bad. The irony is that attitude actually, with the voices and those chronic ways of holding that are decades and decades, and from the first 1, 2, or 3 years of our life, they're like, fuck you. Exactly. I am not letting go. Yeah. So the key is, how can I come up to that contraction from a place of just presence, and that's where the witness consciousness is so important. To be able just to be present to it, and be present to it with love, with no need for it to be different. And the paradox is just that attention will usually allow one of those sanskaras that's like a fist, it's a knot, to slowly begin to unspool in its own way, in its own time, and in its own wisdom. So that's where meddling with it and wanting to fix it actually doesn't allow it to unspool. It is just being present with that contraction.
Yes, and do you think people, and I'm talking obviously about me, I seem to have two paces. I've got one that's very fast and one that's very slow, and I think that's the conflict. I've got parts of me that want to go lightning fast through my life, and there's this other part that says, hell no, we're not doing it.
Libra.
Are you a Libra?
Yeah.
Miss Helen, I know we talked about doing 3 NIA classes, but before you and I have done sort of the 9 qualities of NIA, would that be possible to maybe do tomorrow? The 9 voices of NIA? So most of us sort of have 2 or 3. Fast, medium, dead stop. And what Nia will help us do, in what Helen's going to show us. Yeah, you want to come up? She's going to say it much better than I could.
Is this on?
Yes.
It is? Okay. Just in summary, when you bring things back into the body, there's a beautiful word that I love called transubstantiation. Do you love that word?
What is it?
Transubstantiation.
Transubstantiation.
Any of
Is
you
that
that
like
are
when you-
recovering Catholics, you might have heard this word already, yeah?
Yeah.
But in anatomy, in the body, as a sensation scientist, transubstantiation is honoring what really is in our body. Our body really is a reflection of everything. Our soul, our body, our emotions, our spirit, and also how we're connected with other people. Transubstantiation is if you take any part of the human body and you really start to look at it, there is no beginning and there is no end. What it is the substance, the soft tissue, transubstantiates from one substance into the next. And that's science. That's not like imagination. That's real and tactile. We are living in a body that has no beginning and no end, physiologically and spiritually. Yeah? And so with Nia, when we look at least taking 9 different personalities, drawing from the wisdom of martial arts, dance arts, and healing arts, we can begin to physiologically transubstantiate from the fast agility of Taekwondo. Oh, I love this. Alan's going to be my visual. Okay, let's go, darling. Are you ready? The fast precision of Taekwondo compared to the slow dance of Tai Chi into the transubstantiation of Aikido's spherical, harmonious movement, into the jazz dance, showmanship, performance, sassy, sexy, attracting attention. Alan does this naturally, so well.
Can you say Bob Fosse?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Into Isadora Duncan's Duncan dance, honest, free-spirited, bringing in the child inside of you. Slipping into modern dance, expressive shapes in space, where your body is the paint and the space is your canvas. Into yoga, conscious alignment of bones and breath. This is where we're coming into, slipping into healing arts, more consciousness of our lines. Feldenkrais, which is like the weirdest one in some ways, is finding ways to change my habits, where small modifications allow me to create new neuron pathways, which is creating higher neuroplasticity in the brain and more pliability in the body. And finally, Alexander technique, awareness of the vertical line, connection with gravity down and electromagnetic up. Now I'm floating on my 3 rings of air, pelvis, chest, and head, with the 2 rings of air around my waist and my neck, 3 body weights, pelvis, chest, head. And can you sense there are 3 different arts, 9 different movement forms that are using different energies. So when you're sharing, I go from one to the other. It's like physiologically, how much have you let your body be in all these different nuances? Get out of your habits. It might be you have 2 habits, full on and full off. Yeah? And if you can begin to transubstantiate and realize, oh my gosh, it's not so much these 2 end products, it's the process of experiencing from one to the next. And the good news is we all already have it. It's not something new. Instead, it's transubstantiate, honoring your brilliance in how you are in this moment and moving into your greater future self. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
And one more little thing that also might help you. You're saying, when I get excited, I contract. Alan's absolutely right with yoga of how it's like every door opens, another is closing. In the body, one has to tighten for the other to loosen. But we can also think about the heart. Yeah? And with the heart, there has to be contraction for the blood to fill into the organ of the heart to then be pumped out through the body. And so your excitement could be seen as that impulse and actually opportunity that you're taking in, you're brought into the heart, and then finding ways to truly be with excitement rather than simply being inside of you this way. So think of the heart, how it brings in before it then has the potential to flow out. Yeah?
Thank you. Yes, thank you. And what Helen has agreed to do is tomorrow is actually to take you through those 9 movement forms to music so that you get the experience in your body. And Tristan, I would love for you to weigh in on this because I know you have a different take on it. So if you want to come up to the microphone and share something to this conversation, I'd love for you to do that. Yes.
I'd like to mention, to me, what this conversation, one dimension of it is like learning to ride a bicycle. And when I grow to the point that I can get on a bicycle, I have to learn balance, I have to learn this, I have to learn that, to master the ability to ride. Mm-hmm. So in the process of learning to do something that I've never done before, I get really excited. And if I'm learning to ride... He
lives in a state of excitement, just, as you'll find over the next couple of days.
My point is, in the process of learning to master riding a bicycle, you don't start with going down a mountain slope at 100 miles an hour. But inside of me, the child wants to. And I get this some part of me says, don't go there. And so it's a contraction in service, it's a protection. In any event, this is associated with every learning a new skill, and life is about expanding. And if you think about it, in expanding, you grow to a higher place, and now you're able to do things you've never done before. So it's a constant process of beginning and learning to ride the bicycle, and excitement of these parts over here and these parts over here. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, thank you. I know you're in the queue, and I just want to riff on what Helen said, is that most of us have our own natural defaults, whatever they are. Some of us tend towards the couch potato, and some of us tend towards the extreme athlete. We all have our preferences in the way that we move through space. And one of the things that this 9 personalities of Nia offers is, oh, wow, there's 9 different ways. And I can choose which one's going to serve me. If I'm having a confrontation with somebody, Taekwondo or Kung Fu is going to serve me. Instead of, oh, well, I guess you might be right. It's like, no, I need that Taekwondo energy. Here's my boundary. And sometimes, if you're in traffic and you're trying to, how can I help get out of this? That's when you need that Aikido. It's like, oh, okay, I can maneuver through here and I can be very fluid. So we all have our preferences, but it's important to have a full repertoire. And I want to point to Myers-Briggs. My friend Marion over here is a great teacher of Myers-Briggs personality types. I know Darden is a teacher of the Enneagram. We have a personality type that is our preference. But as Jung pointed out, in the second stage of life, it's actually about owning and becoming familiar with all 16 qualities of the persona and being able to use them skillfully. So it's about getting out of our old habits and being able to choose what's appropriate or inspiring in the moment. And Mr. Tristan.
Well, you're all sharing so beautifully about something that I love to study, which is the dance of energy and yin and yang. And I think we get into trouble sometimes with words. The idea that to contract is bad or negative, yeah? Love is expansion, but fear is contraction. And in that, I got pretty confused because all I wanted to do was expand. But if you want to break a board, you better know when to contract. If you want to break through a habit, you need to know when to hit and when to let go. So it is this beautiful, you described it and showed it, by the way, fabulously on stage, the beautiful dance. If someone's holding a board for me to break, maybe you could say, well, you could use the expansion of the chi and just break it. That's awesome. I haven't done that yet. But I can break it with my fist. And so I know that I need to take the energy and the breath and the energy of movement and draw it in and build it up and build it up. And then there's going to be a release. There's an expansion. But there's a moment that I must contract. But as soon as it hits, it's got to go back to release. And it's that dance. And there's a time to hit and contract, and there's a time to let go and flow. So it's this beautiful relationship that we discover within ourselves. It's the dance of energy. It's my take.
Thank you. I just want to acknowledge that I am sensing my heart opening and the warmth in my heart, which I imagine is this amazing sense of gratitude that I have two amazing friends and great master teachers in this room to inspire me and all of us. And I just want to say I'm so thrilled that Helen and Tristan are here to support all of us in our embodiment of these subtle but profound skills. So thank you.